Welcome everybody. My name is Drew Perkins with Perkins Educational Consulting. I'm pleased to have you join in with us today. This afternoon, my guest today is Swanya Saraga, and I think I pronounced that correctly. She and I are going to talk about PBL and authentic learning experiences and inquiry learning in a preschool setting. She is a preschool teacher at Dallas Spanish House in, of course, Dallas, Texas. You can go check them out at DallasSpanishHouse.com, and their Twitter is sh_Dallas, at sh_Dallas, so you can check that out if you'd like. So I think we've got some folks that are going to join us here. As we get folks in and get things going here, I'd like to give you an opportunity, Swanya, to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your background professionally and that kind of thing.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Swanya. Swanya Saraga. I'm from Puerto Rico. And I have a BA in education, and I started teaching in Puerto Rico. So then I decide to move here to learn another language and to start teaching in here. I hear about the education in Texas that is different from Puerto Rico, so I just came here to get a job and do my best. So when I came here, I started studying English, and I started working in Spanish House. That is an immersion program in Spanish, and with 4 years old. And then we started working with the PBL, and it has been a great experience that I want to share with you today.
All right, great. And so I know we have a couple viewers. Looks like we've got a couple folks in already. You should be able to ask questions. I've enabled the Q&A app. If you're unable to do that, you're also welcome to tweet to me. My lower third should be working under here, but it's not for some reason today because Google Toolbox is being a little bit quirky. But you can tweet me at dperkinsmsu, so DPERKINSMSU. And if I can pick up questions there, but you should be able to ask questions and add your comments here as well through the YouTube channel, Google Plus Q&A function. So what I'd like to get started as we think about here, Swanya, as you came to Spanish House, you said that you weren't doing PBL originally. Can you tell me how that genesis, how that transformation, why did you go and change to more authentic learning and inquiry and PBL experiences?
Okay, when I was in college, I hear about PBL. I was learning how to use PBL for high school, but I never thought that was going to be possible for preschoolers. So when I came here, I started in Spanish House, and we were doing just the regular education that we used to do all the time. But then we started with the PBL and the inquiry based learning. And so when I started at the beginning, it was really frustrating for me. My first thought was that this is not going to happen. The kids cannot learn like that. The first week when we start that year, I can cry into the principal's office and I say they are not going to learn, especially because it's a immersion program. I say this is not going to happen. I know they cannot do it, and she say, okay, we are going to try it. Just try it. And that was the click and the words that help us. So I say, okay, we're going to try it. And we started. How we were doing it before and how we change it is that I want to explain to you. Maybe that what you do sometimes in your classroom, and because maybe you think that is not another way that they can investigate by themselves. And most of the time in the classroom is the teacher talking in the front, and the student are receiving all the information all the time. That's what I used to do before, um, and now it's completely different. Um, Let me see. Well, before when we were doing um, like a book or something, I was in the front, all my students were sitting, and I was saying, look, we're going to talk about, for example, the ocean. This is the ocean. This is the animals that is in the ocean. This is the shark. He lived in the ocean, and they were not talking at all. I was talking all the time. When I finish the book, I say, well, that was the ocean, and now we're going to color this fish that I just cut out. Looks perfectly, and just you are going to color it. So for me, and at that point, I say like, okay, they learned what was the ocean. Now that I have been doing this for a long time, I, and if you ask me that first, when I started, I say they cannot do anything else. That is the only thing that they can do. What they can do now, um, we start we start letting them explore by themselves. Instead of the teacher saying something in the front, I was putting the books in the tables. Now I'm putting the books in the tables. So what they do, before I was talking like 80% of the time, and they were talking like maybe 20 or 10, maybe, I don't know. Now it's the opposite. They are talking 80% and I am talking 20. um, what I'm doing now for the same activity is I am putting the books. I just say let's explore the ocean, and I put books of the ocean in the tables. So they open the books, and they just know that they are going to see is the ocean. So they start seeing what is in the ocean, how it looks like, and they talk to each other. So they turn and talk about what they are seeing in the books. It can be books, or it can be magazines, or different pictures that I can give to them, different resources that you can have to let them explore. Um, so they turn and talk. They talk about what they are seeing in the books. They talk about maybe previous knowledge that they have. Maybe they talk about one experience that they had before, that they went to the ocean, that they saw some animals, and so they start talking to each other. They share what they are seeing in the books. Then they switch books, so they have different um, pictures and different things to see. So what are they doing here? The teacher is not just talking to them all the time, and the teacher is not saying. They are building the knowledge by themselves. The why that is the ocean, or why what animals live in the ocean. Not just because the teacher said it. It's because they're investigating. Um, and at the end, it's that activity that before I was giving them a fish that I cut out. I'm just giving them papers now, and they are going to transfer the things that they saw in the books and the knowledge that they built talking to other ones, um, to create something. I am not giving them something that they are just going to color. They are building authentic work. So maybe you are going to say, the teacher in the class are going to say, but it's not going to look like that, because that's what I said before. But it is what, that's what in his mind he's thinking, that is a fish. He's building the concept of what is a fish, or how it looks like. Um, maybe he's going to put in a blue paper because he thinks that it lives in the water. Nobody told him that, but he's learning it when he's investigating and talking to other ones. Um, Another things we do um, to investigate and inquiry in the classroom is um, we use videos. We use videos too. So we have tablets, and maybe the teacher has some kind of um, internet or something that they can use. Um, the best thing that they can do to learn by themselves is seeing real stuffs. So, for example, this unit we are talking about animals. So they already have investigated about animals. They look books. Um, they they turn and talk all the time to each others. They are using oral productions in the classroom all the time. That is one of the best things that we are using in the classroom. Oral communication are the things that we want to build with them. Um, but we want them to experience real things. So maybe I think that the best thing that I can do to them is get them to see real animals. So I plan a field trip with the parents. So we are going to the zoo. So because maybe in the classroom they are seeing in books that the giraffe is tall, they're saying it, but it is tall for real, or the elephant is big, but it is big for real. So if they had the real experience seeing it that the giraffe is tall, they are building that knowledge. Nobody's telling them, so they're investigating, they're seeing it. So I think that that is the best way um, for them to investigate and learn stuff by themselves.
So, and for those of you viewing, one thing that I didn't notice, and you may have figured this out from the name Dallas Spanish House, this is a Spanish immersion school. Most of the kids, correct me if I'm wrong, come from English-speaking families, and they're learning dual languages, Spanish, English, and one of the focuses is oral language production,
Mm-hmm.
and and especially applicable to little ones, preschool, and early ed. Um, so I'd like to think about a little bit more on some of the examples you gave. And so if you're going to take them to the zoo, for example, I love the idea of the experience for them to see the animals and experience that firsthand. Can you talk a little bit about the role of inquiry and um, question formulation, and what's your role as a teacher in guiding that questioning in preschool kids? Not that older kids necessarily are better at questioning, but they certainly tend to have a better handle on language, at least. And then what's their role in questioning, and how do you foster that inquiry process for them?
Okay. Um, before the field trip, or at the time that we are there.
Either, both,
Okay.
in just that whole process.
Okay. Um, yes, they have a lot of questions about um, animals, where they come from, where do they live, um, where they get the food from. So I am trying to um, let them let them add that questions to other ones. They are answering by themselves, and like in the classroom we use all the time, and even in circle time, project time, it is reading time. kind of communication with them. Like they can ask questions to other ones, they can speak to other ones, one stay in the front and then the other one ask, and this kid is answering. Um, Sometimes they work in pairs and they um, ask something to the other ones and the other one is answering. And so for this unit that we are going to the zoo, I want them to I want them to explore the the habitats. So what we are going to do is we are going to let them um, before we go, we are going to let them um, think about what they think that they are going to see. They are going to say what they want to see or what they want to learn, what they need to know uh, from that animal. So when we are there, we are going to know where we need to go or what we need to see to answer that question that they have. So, like for example, if they are asking a lot, how tall is the giraffe? That's one of the questions that is happening all the time. I can tell them like that it's, I don't know, 10 feet or something like that, but what is it? How it looks like? So we are going to have all that questions that they are building, that they're asking now, and we're going to take the question there and let them explore around and see. So when we are there, we are going to say like, do you remember when you asked about the giraffe? And they are going to be, so we are going to bring the questions that they asked before in the classroom to the place where they can answer it by themselves.
So when you and so this is a project for them, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so in typical PBL, and I know not everything has to be PBL, but as you think about PBL, generally we have want to have a driving question, gives a product what they're going to be doing and a purpose. So why they're doing that, and then usually an audience, an authentic audience. What's their overall challenge? What are they trying to do and produce, and what's their audience and purpose in this zoo project, or what they're, you said, need to knows going to the zoo for?
Okay. Um, right now we are doing animals. So this project is going on. Um, I want to explain a little bit how we plan it before, how we
Yeah.
with other teachers, and how we build the question, what do we want them to do, when we want them to explore to answer that question. So our
Okay.
final product that they're going to choose, that product need to answer that question that we are making at the beginning.
Right.
So um, we plan the whole month. We um, we just got the topic, and then we we are thinking all the time like, what do we want them to learn, what do we want them to investigate, when we want what do we want to let them to create, how they are going to do it. For example, this unit, our question is how us as zoologists can create a habitat for the animals. What animals? If every we the last unit was about a country that they were learning about. So we are going to keep talking about the same country that they know already, that they have previous knowledge. So to bring it to this unit, so they are going to bring previous knowledge to the unit that we are um, studying now.
So their driving question is something like, how can we as zoologists create a habitat?
Yes,
Okay.
that specific animals that we learned, that specific country that we learned before.
Okay.
So in my classroom, they are going to be how we can create an habitat for the animals that live in Tanzania.
Okay.
We're talking about them. So how they never been in there before? How we are going to how they are going to build that? How they are going to investigate about it? So what we are doing is we plan the whole month. The first thing that we do is to launch the project. So at project time, um, most of the time the principal come in the classroom and she's challenged. We um, we have a conversation with them and how you can do that. Can you do it? Some students say yes. Some students think that they cannot. So that is the challenge over there to let them see that everybody can do it, that everybody can investigate it, and they can have a final product by the end of the unit. So for this unit, we launched the project. We meet with other students from other classrooms, and in this one we want them to see different habitats. So we give everybody an animal, and they were talking to each other to make oral productions. That is one of the things that we want to have in the classroom. So they were talking to other ones, and they were describing the animals that they have, and where they were talking about where these animals should live. So when they were saying all of these things to other students, they were seeing some habitats that was in the classroom, and they were classifying them. Just hearing the other students that were saying, "Oh, I think that this is a fish and it should live in the water." So that is the first thing that we do. You can do different activities, like maybe you can put a video to show them how your project is going to looks, or how it's going to um, information. The video can have information about what you want the students to or a little bit of previous knowledge that you want them to have. Um, so then what we do is we plant the questions, and we start making a brainstorm. What do you think that we can do? What do we need to know? What do we need to make it? What can we make? So they choose their final product. We don't say, okay, we are going to study this, and you are going to build this.
So you're
So
giving them some voice and choice over their topic and their product.
they have voice and choice, and they can decide what they want to do, how it's going to look like. So most of the time, I'm saying like, what do you want the audience to see when they come here? We are going to have people that are going to come to see our project, how it's going to look like. So they say we are going to have animals in the walls. We can use papers. We can use paint. They start saying everything that they need to use, and how it's going to look like, and what they want to learn about it. So at the time that you have all the things that they want to know, and all the things that they need, and they have clear what they want to do for the final product. So we start investigating about it, how we are going to do it, what or to answer all that need to knows that they have, what you need to know to create it, what is in there. So what is the habitat? Right now we're investigating, like, what is the habitat that is in Tanzania. So I have a lot of books from there. They are investigating there. Then we start with draft. They make a draft of how it's going to look like. So they start making a draft. At the time that they have it, they present it to the other students in the classroom, and the other student give them some feedbacks. So there is the oral production again.
So you're talking about a really important feature of PBL is peer critique, and so giving them the students an opportunity to make their thinking visible, and by talking about it, that oral production, and practice that skill, both not just one way, but as a dialogue. What kind of protocols and what kind of things do you use to help them give each other feedback and to receive feedback and sort of to develop that skill?
Okay. We have different ways to do it. Sometimes we do it in pairs. So it's one student to the other ones. And first, the student that is showing the draft talk. What is it? Like here is a tree, here is a lion. So the other one is saying, but I think that the lion have four legs, and you just draw two. So, and they're talking one to each other, saying, but then the other one can say like, okay, then I'm going to make four. I'm going to draw the other two legs, or I think that just have two legs. So they start a discussion about what they draw and what they can improve. So at the time that they are talking about how they can improve their draft, um, and they are building some oral production too. Um, then they make a second draft. So they are going to try to apply what the other students said. So the most of the time I am taking notes of what the students are saying. So the next day when they are going to try to improve it, they are going to improve it. I am saying, what you remember that kid say that it should have four legs. Say, oh yeah, I think that it have four legs. So they're improving the draft, um, about what the other students said in the feedbacks. Um, we have some activities too during the project that help them to to um, understand better what is it about.
The
I want to
scaffolding
talk. Yeah.
scaffolding of the learning, and so you've planned those things out in advance, but also sort of corresponding those with that need to know list, and as we think about PBL having that driving question that really gives that task and that product and that purpose, and then asking the kids, what do we need to know in order to answer this question, to meet this challenge. When we think about that as teachers and planning, we want to make sure that need to know list really sort of corresponds pretty closely with our content, and those scaffolding pieces that you're talking about sort of support that as they're going along. And I love the peer critique piece of it as well.
Mhm.
And I'd like to remind folks that are watching, I know we've got some viewers, they should be able to ask questions via the Q&A app. And if not, if that's not working for you, please feel free to tweet to me at dperkinsmsu. You should be able to submit some questions there too, and I can check those and pull those in. But we'd love to have some questions and comments from folks that are viewing. If I can get you to sort of switch gears a little bit, I know there's a project that we want to talk about around letter forming and shapes and things like that. But you had mentioned something before. A lot of people think that preschool is not, that you can't do PBL in preschool, and sort of one of those things that you sort of even came to the table with, thinking this is not appropriate for preschool. I guess what was the big shift for you, and how did that change? How did your mind get changed, and what are some of the hard things when it comes to preschool, and how did you sort of overcome those?
Um, it was not that hard how I thought that was going to be. Um, I think that when you can see at the end of the year, if you're talking about a year, that they really know things that you didn't even say it in the classroom because they were investigating by themselves. They were they were talking to each other. Like at the end of the year, you can see, or at the end of every unit, you can see that they are talking and they have some knowledge that you didn't even say it in the classroom. One of the things that I can say right now that it really works um, is because I am seeing how they're working now. That they have the routine. That they know what is it. Um, what it looks like in the classroom, that they know that they are doing something, that they are creating something, like this one that you just say about the letters.
Hmm.
um, we let them do the letters by themselves, and they're just seeing the other letters and they're writing the letters. But now that we just studied that unit about art and the elements of shapes, um, during that unit, um, they they were learning the different elements of shapes. So now they're applying to the letters that they're writing. So that kind of investigation that they did before is helping them now to do another things in the classroom. So there is when the teacher said that this is working. They really learn what we were doing, what they were investigating, what they were talking about, and the knowledge is there, and they're doing it now and with different things. I think that there is the point that you say it is working.
And has there been what's been your biggest struggle, the hardest sort of obstacle with little ones?
Mm, um, maybe that you need to use um, visual things to let them explore and learn, because they cannot read at that time, or because it's a different language. Um, but maybe it is there in elementary school, they're reading and they are learning from the things that they're reading, but in here everything is about what they are seeing, the experience, and what they are talking to each other. So I think that that is the part that is harder for for pre-K, that everything is visual, and it's the hardest part for us. Like we need to give them a lot of experience and a lot of resources, things that they can understand and the level that they need to.
Um, it's funny that you say that, and I don't disagree with you one bit at all. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old little girls, and of course they were not too long ago in preschool, and so how you sort of explain things and really what we call scaffolding things, supporting the learning in ways that make sense to little kids. But what I think is interesting about that is that um, I don't think that's exclusive to just little kids. I mean, as we think about kindergarten on up to adults, how do we communicate and get thinking and learning across, whether it's in actual academic learning situations, doing project-based learning or authentic learning or just good inquiry-based teaching, but even in just regular conversations, right? I mean, we certainly all have different ways of learning and knowing and thinking, that kind of thinking. I'm not sure is exclusive to just preschool, but
I think that that is the hardest part inside the classroom to find that way
yeah.
that everybody can understand and everybody can learn. It's finding different ways in the classroom that you can get to all the students and they can have the experience and learn from there.
Yeah, and I would imagine, as kids get older, I think you could probably reasonably ask them to think about that from their perspective. What's the best way in which you might find this information and learn? But with little ones, they're not quite to that point because cognitively, socially, they may not be there. Um, so, as, as you work in a dual language environment, how do you approach the work building fluency and language production in English and in Spanish, sort of at the same time? What kind of strategies do you use, and how does that work?
Um, Actually, in the classroom is 100% Spanish, so
Okay.
we that's what we want to. That's our goal because they're speaking English all the time in their house, most of them, but so they can speak perfectly in English, but we want them to speak in Spanish. So everything inside the classroom is in Spanish. So um, how we are doing it, um, these kids that I am with 4 years old, they have been here for 3 years. So when they get to pre-K 4 like they are right now, um, most of them can speak really well. They can speak Spanish. They can understand 100%. But all the experience that we are all the things that we're using inside the classroom when all our productions, it is in Spanish. So when I'm reading a book, when I'm talking to them, when they're talking back, when they're asking, what happened is somebody is asking something in English, we just um, we just say it in Spanish so and they can practice it. They're repeating, they're asking all the time how I say this. Um, Sometimes they're saying the words that they don't know in English. So we try to we try to um, let them have a 100% Spanish immersion. They're all the time and everything in Spanish.
Okay. So let's get to the project that I know that I've asked you to share, and I've heard some things about it from Jill, your director, principal.
Yes.
Um, I think it's a really interesting perspective and approach to learning. Um, so the project that, as I understand it, is teaching kids how to write their letters and the forms and shapes using art. Is that correct?
Yes. We want them to learn from different things of arts, but we want them like the final products was going to be like that final product was going to help them to write better. So if they learned the if they learn the elements of the shapes in the art, then they can use it for to write. I have some examples in here that I want to show to them how we did that project. It was a really good one. Here's how it looks when it's in the board. That this is what they are saying, what they need to know. This is a picture of my board when they are saying it.
Okay.
All the brainstorms, all the things that they want to know, and all the things that they need for the project. This is at the time that I present the driving questions.
So as you unfolded this project, and I'd like to sort of walk through it from sort of a start to finish and think about design assessment and management. Um, as you unfolded this project and put it out into the wild of your classroom, the entry event and how we sort of got the emotional hook and got them interested in this was what?
Okay. As we say, as I said, we want them to learn the different shapes of the 5 elements of shapes. So because we want them to write better, right? So we think that one of the places that we can find the elements of shapes is in the art. So we brought that project that um, it was called the art shapes gallery. It was called shapes gallery. So the question was how we can build how we can transform our school in a museum. That was the question. We use videos for launch that project. So we showed them some videos like a person walking inside the museum and how it looks like. Um, then we let them talk to each other um, about previous experiences that they have going to the museum and how it looks like, and that was our launch activity. So then we asked them, do you think that we can build a project, a museum? Do you think that we can um, turn our school in a museum? Some of the students say no, we cannot, and some others say yes, of course we can. So um, that was the first day. Then we start with the first day when that we launched the project, and then we start with the brainstorming with the questions, what we need to do, how we are going to do it, what is going to be our final product. So at that time, they were saying we can put pictures in the walls, and it's going to look like a museum. And I said, like, great, okay, who is going to do the pictures? And they say, we need to bring some artists here. And say, do you think that we need to bring some artists here, or we can do it? Again, some of them say no, we cannot, and other ones say yes, we can. So then we put our project in a map, conceptual map. The questions is in the middle, and then in the other ones are what they need to know and what they need to do that project and what is going to be the final product. Um, Here again is then we start with activities like this one. They were practicing. They were painting with face painting in the arms, and they were practicing the 5 element of shapes. So everything that we did in the project was practicing the 5 element of shapes in the art pictures. So we were giving them a lot of books of art, and they were saying, "Oh, right here is a line, straight line. Right here is a curve. Right here is an angle." So that was the things that we want them to learn about because it was going to help them to write better. When we were writing them the letter O, we were going to say, okay, O is a circle. It's going to look like straight line with a curve and a dot. So they started making the draft that we talked about before. This is the one of the first draft that is just in pencil. Um, they give other feedbacks. They were talking to each other, saying like you should use that color, or you should do this, or you should do that. Right here is another. Um, at the time that they give feedbacks, they were doing it again. So right here is the girl that already made one of the draft, and then she's doing it again. Um, they have voice and choice. So when at the time that they choose what they want to present at the end, But inside the project, they had some choices too, to um, choose what pictures they were going to do. So they were saying, I'm going to. They were looking at books. They were investigating about art, and they were finding the different elements of shapes. That was one of our goals. So I just was saying, try to find a picture that have the five elements of shapes. So they were talking to each other. They were investigating, and they choose an art that they were going to do. So they made it, and then they received some feedbacks. They did it again. They made three drafts. The third draft was the final product. We visit the museum to see how it looks like, and so they had the real experience that how the museum looks like. So when they came back to the classroom, they have a better view like what they were going to do.
Did
When we,
they, when you visited that museum, did they get an opportunity, or what kind of opportunities did they get to talk with the folks at the museum and ask them questions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we planned a visit with the museum, so they had activities for them. Um, like and this time when we went, um, the people that the people of the museum were talking to the student, and we choose a art picture that have the element of shape that we were studying. So they sit on there. They were asking questions to them, and kind of I talked before to the people that were in the museum because we did it in Spanish too. So I was talking to them, and we were practicing, and then we went to build stuff in the museum using the five element of shapes too. Um, they One of the questions that they asked was what all the frames um, were gold. They want to know what all the frames were gold. So the girl that was talking to them explained them, and then they came back to the classroom and they brought that knowledge, and they want to do it like that like the thing that they saw in the museum. So they start building things that they saw and nobody told them. They saw it by themselves with the experience, and at the end they presented. They present what here's the girl talking to the other ones. So they present what is in the pictures, what elements it had. So at the time that they were drawing something, they were learning what was the element, well, practicing the five element of shapes. So I want to show you one of the books that we have. Like this student, when we start the year, he was writing. I don't know if you can say like this. The letters are not clear.
Kind of
Uh,
messy.
yes. So then we had this unit, and practicing the five element of shapes and how we can find the five element of shapes in the letters. So they were then when we were practicing the letters, we were saying, right here is a straight line and right here is a curve. So now he's writing like this.
Okay. And
So
how old is he?
he's four.
Okay.
It's four, and so now they know. Now that they are mastering the five elements of shapes, they can write better. And that was one of our goals, so they can have that previous knowledge and bring it to the things that they're doing now. Right here is one of the pictures that they did in that unit. Right here is the first draft that is just in pencil, and right here is colors, the second draft, and right here is the final products that they made.
Very cool. Okay. So let's talk about assessment. as you're going through there, um, what are the stages and steps and ways that you assessed their work?
Okay. Yes. One of the things that we are doing, um, we like right here. This is one of the projects that we are doing now, and we are trying to see if they are doing the five element of shapes and the letters now. So this is 2 units after the the five element of shapes unit. So we are seeing if they are using it in the letters that was um, one of our goals in here too. So not, right now we are writing using um, the five element of shapes every time that we are doing it. Um, when we are not just for writing, like in here, one student drew an animal and he said it was a cheetah, and he said like, look, I use dots and I use circles and I use a curve and two straight lines. So I'm trying to give them opportunity now to do stuff using that previous knowledge that they learned in that unit.
Okay, and so that's some of the things you mentioned are after and sort of ongoing. Are there some things inside of some specific sort of checkpoints and assessments, formative assessments that you're using inside of, or that you did use inside of that specific unit, that PBL unit where they came up with those art pieces?
Um, like this one. Yeah, we were trying them to. If this is the final product. Um, we during the unit we had, I think that was, I don't think it was with the draft, and they were improving and they were doing a better job. So we had three different um, pieces to see what they were doing before and what they are doing now. That was inside the project. Like they start with the first draft and they how they were improving it and how they were using that things and that knowledge that they were learning in the classroom. That's what they.
Um,
That's
and tell me a little bit before you go any further that because preschool clearly is not the same as K-12 as far as content and standards and accountability. Where are you getting the content, and what, when we talk about accountability and assessment, of course it's in pursuit of doing something or learning something, improving something. So it sounds like the improvement there is around shapes and drawing and some of the, I guess, what mechanical skills of handwriting and letter writing, but also I'm guessing some of that oral fluency and language. What content? Because when we talk about PBL, we want to start with content and sort of work backwards. Where are you drawing from content-wise in your preschool curriculum?
Yeah, we have the curriculum that come from our coordinator. She gave us all the curriculum, and we have in the school we have um, our own curriculum and the evaluation that we are doing all the times, like the skills that they want that they should have. We build it based in the immersion program and the skills that we want them to use for inquiry and talking and all these things in Spanish. So we have our own um, um, our own units and evaluation for that.
Okay, so as we're getting close to being done with our hour here, if I can get you to talk a little bit about management and strategies and how you manage kids, I would imagine it's much different from high school, middle school, or even elementary. But thinking about little kids being wiggly and not being able to sit still for very long sometimes. He's touching me, she's touching me, she's looking at me. Those kinds of little things that little kids, and I would imagine if the kids at your school are anything like the kids that I'm familiar with, little ones, equity and being fair is a big deal, right? I mean, that's not fair. Somebody got something I didn't get, or whatever the case may be. As you manage kids and build that culture, and I know in my conversations with Jill that you all kind of talk about it in terms of culture. What are some of the strategies and things that you do with kids to sort of foster that culture?
Okay, that's happening in all the classroom, and I think that everybody know what you're talking about. One of the things, again, I'm going to say that he used is um, oral production. So we want them to talk. If something is happening like that, one of the strategies that we are using it is talking. We want them to express what is happening, and we want them to hear what is happening from other kids. We want them to be able to understand what there are different feelings in the classrooms, and most of the time in our classroom, what we do is talk to them and let them talk again. So it is something happened like an examples that you say, like he took my pencil, or he's looking at me, or he just took my spot. So we are just talking all the time inside the classroom. This talking it is in Spanish. So and we are taking time to let them understand what the other kids are saying, and why they did it, or what they can do to do it better next time. So most of the time we are talking inside the classroom too. That is one of the strategies that we are using to resolve all the things or manage the group.
And so thinking about the expectations and the norms and the culture that you're trying to establish, are there is there sort of, sometimes we use student contracts in PBL, and quite often, and really should be using contracts and a set of expectations and working norms. Is that something that you do with kids, and if so, how might that look different at the preschool level than from K to 12?
And in the projects,
Yeah, I mean, as you have them working in pairs and or groups, or working with each other, how do they know what the expectations are for, I guess, behavior and how they work with each other? Just all of those things surrounding that sort of professional learning culture that you're trying to establish. Any sort of contracts or expectations and setting of norms.
yeah, when our first unit was about uh, our classroom culture or community, how we are going to talk to each other. So how we are going to work with each other. So that all that rules or things that were going to happen in the classroom came from them. So they were thinking what is going to be good for us if we are talking to other ones. What is going to be good for us is one student is talking. So that came from talking, and then the other one need to listen. So they that we made since the first unit, with all the things that they said that were going to be good for them, and was that things are we're going to let them learn better, or have a better conversation with other ones, or have a better activity. So all the things that we are using in the classroom came from them. They said what was going to be better for them to work with other ones or to play or all that things.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up here, and I don't want to keep you on, I heard kiddos in the background there, and I know you probably got to get back and continue on your journey. Um, and when I say journey, you've been teaching. This is your third or your fourth year in the PBL environment?
This is my fourth year.
Fourth year. Um, if I could get you to talk just a very briefly about that journey and about that process from a perspective of how much you've grown. I mean, one of the things that as I work with teachers in schools, in typical professional development tends to be a lot of times, unfortunately, is one shot or, hey, come and do a workshop 3 days, 2 days, and we'll move along. We'll go from here. And even as I work with teachers, K-12 settings, they tend to really get frustrated because their first project is not as successful and as wonderful as they want it to be, because a lot of times for perfectionists. And I reflect back to one of the things you said earlier was just to try. Where would you place yourself and sort of over the 3 years? How much growth have you made, or what was that process like? Would you say that teachers could do it in a year or two, or is 3 to 4 years really where you start getting good at it?
First thing that I want to say is that it's possible. Maybe you are going to think that it's not at the beginning. I did it. I taught that. But it is. Another thing that what I say that somebody told me before is to try it. To try it. Just for every year is a learning process. You learn different things from different students. They work different. The projects are going to be different. So every year is a different process of learning. Right now, at the beginning, I thought that they were not learning at all. They were doing something because they want to, but they were not having any learning process. But right now, I can say that they are. So as a teacher, it take a little bit of time to understand how it works, how you to it takes time to let them do it by themselves, to let them, because us as a teacher, we think that teachers need to be there saying stuff. So it takes a little bit time and maybe some groups to see that where they start and where they finish. So when you see that they were doing this and at the end they are doing this, then you see it is possible. So I think that all the teachers, I believe that all the teachers are different. Um, Maybe some of the teachers are going to get it sooner than other ones. But at the time that you are trying it and you are giving them the chance to explore and having an inquiry and atmospheres in your classroom, and you are having them talk and explore, you are going to see maybe not right away that they finish one project, but at the end you are going to see that they really learn what they were investigating or doing their projects.
So it really, really is a process, and that's one of the messages that I think is an important one for folks to take away, is that it is such a learning curve for a lot of folks. Some people pick up more quickly than others, and it's a learning curve for the students as well. And so as you continue to get better, as they continue to get better, the deep learning and inquiry process really becomes super valuable.
Hmm.
Uh, and I love that you all are doing that at the preschool level. I work with elementary schools around the country, and you say to the fourth and fifth grade teachers, by the time they get to you, if they're starting at kindergarten, they'll be doing great. But then you talk to the kindergarten teachers, and they say, well, they're coming to us, and we have to get them into PBL mindset and learning and build that culture. So thinking if they come from a preschool that's doing PBL and authentic learning and really using inquiry, they're going to be miles ahead as well. So.
And one of the things that I am still taking English classes, and this year when I get there, the first thing that the teacher said was start talk to your partner and let's do a brainstorm here about this thing. I say that is exactly what I'm doing with my 4 years old. So if they start at 4 years old, when they get there, they are going to be master and they are going to have all the skills that they need to think, to talk, and to build, because they were going to have all that knowledge since they were 4. I think that is amazing that what they can do, and they really are going to use it during the life.
Yeah, you very well stated. It's funny, people think they compartmentalize and say, well, it's different for these kids and these kids, and a lot of these principles are applicable to preschool, kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, college, adult, all of those, all of the above. So, it's not about who has the right answers, but who has the right questions in a lot of cases, and building those abilities and those skills in kids that turn into adults certainly is a wonderful thing. So just sort of a wrap up here. Thank you all. Thank you so much for your thinking and learning here. Those folks who are interested can visit DallasSpanishHouse.com.
All questions that they have and they want is I can help, just email it to us to our website, and we will help them.
Yeah, and thank you for that. So again, DallasSpanishHouse.com is their website. They're on Twitter at sh_Dallas. My name is Drew Perkins, Perkins Educational Consulting. You can visit my website at perkinsed.com. My Twitter is at dperkinsmsu. And hopefully this has been a helpful experience for you all. It'll be on YouTube. And thank you so much, Swanya, and forward to future. I think we'll be doing one. I think when I talked with Jill, she'd like to also talk with one of your elementary teachers. So that I think is next up on the Dallas Spanish House menu. So thank you so much. Any parting shots or any last words? Any books you're reading or words of advice for anybody?
It is possible. Try it.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.